It's just past midnight in the Hollywood Hills. Music echoes against infinity pool waters. In a candlelit living room, a certain Marvel actor drapes his arm around two influencers, their laughter, low and secretive. A few feet away, a Lakers point guard whispers to an aspiring model, fingers intertwined around a crystal glass. In the shadows, other beautiful strangers mingle, some dancing, some disappearing behind velvet curtains. No smartphones in sight. Everyone's present in the moment, bound by an unspoken pact of secrecy. The air tastes of champagne, desire, and something illicit. Meanwhile, flashback to 1997. A downtown LA warehouse club thrums with underground music. Neon hair and vinyl outfits glow under black light. A young newcomer, wide-eyed and curious, locks eyes with a mysterious older man in the corner. He looks familiar. Later, she realizes he was a rising movie star. But here, in this gritty 90s club, he's just another creature of the night. Back then, no one has a camera phone, so whatever happens, lines of coke on a mirrored table, a stolen kiss in a dark booth, stays lost in the strobe-lit haze of memory. Tonight, we pull back that curtain. Welcome to our late night podcast, where we explore the deep, emotional, and adult dimensions of Los Angeles nightlife and hookup culture. I'm your host, and my guest is an anonymous insider, someone who has lived these scenes, past and present. Stay with us as we delve into secret celebrity parties, the unseen side of desire, and the emotional costs hidden beneath the neon glow of LA's nights. Thank you for joining me tonight. I know you've chosen to stay anonymous, but is there anything you'd like to call yourself for this chat? Maybe just insider or a first name of your choice?
Sure, you can call me Jay.
All right, Jay. You have an uncommon perspective. You've been part of Los Angeles's private party and hookup scene for years. You've seen the late 90s club world and the modern Instagram/OnlyFans era. That's exactly what I want to dive into. Let's start with the contrast. LA hookup culture now versus in the 90s. How would you compare the two eras?
It's night and day, honestly, yet some things never change. In the 1990s, when I was first sneaking into clubs underage, the vibe was, I'd say, more organic. You met people in person because you had no choice. The internet was barely a thing. Cell phones were just phones. As one club goer from back then put it, when the internet was still a novelty and calling friends outside your area code could result in a huge bill, we had to hang out in person. That was true. If you wanted the experience, the music, the flirting, the wild adventures, you went out and lived it.
There was no swiping right. No DMing a cute stranger on Instagram to meet you at the club?
So exactly. If you saw someone intriguing across the dance floor, you had to gather the courage to walk up and say hi. And the clubs themselves in the 90s had this kind of subcultural energy. You'd walk into a place like this goth industrial club in Hollywood. It might be full of punk rockers, artists, queer kids, all mingling. Outsiders in their hometowns, but here they could be themselves. Those nights felt like a tribe gathering more than an event. Everyone was present in the moment because there was no alternative. No texting friends all night, no posting stories. If you wanted to show you were there, you'd maybe pose for an actual photographer or just live on in someone's memory.
And if something crazy happened, it stayed among those who were present?
Right. I think that's one of the biggest differences. Today, if a celebrity or even a regular person does something wild at a party, there's a real fear it'll end up online. But back then, people were doing lines of cocaine, dancing on tables, going home with strangers, and no one would know the next day because no camera phones were around. Gwyneth Paltrow, the actress, once joked about how in the 90s, you could have fun and not get caught because there were no paparazzi inside, no social media at all, and she wasn't exaggerating. I remember going out with friends and seeing stuff that would definitely make headlines now, but at that time, it was like a Las Vegas motto. What you see here stays here.
That freedom must have been intoxicating in its own way.
It was. You felt you could be anyone for the night. I was just a teenager then, but even I felt it. The sense that once you stepped through those club doors or past the velvet rope at an after party, you were in a world apart from real life. One night in '99, I found myself at an after-hours party in the Hollywood Hills. I'd tagged along with an older friend who worked in music. There I was, this nobody college kid, shoulder to shoulder with rock stars, models. At one point, I ended up on a balcony where two well-known actors, I won't name, but let's say one would become a superhero on screen, were lounging with a few girls, all of them draped on each other, laughing under the stars. I remember one of the actors looked over, caught me staring, and just gave a little grin like, "Welcome to the club." I was equal parts terrified and thrilled.
And no thought like, oh, I should snap a photo as proof.
I didn't even have a camera with me, and it would have been unthinkable to pull one out. You'd break the trust. That's something people today might not realize. Those spaces ran on trust and exclusivity. If you were there, it meant you were cool enough not to sell the story. You could see a famous singer making out in a dark corner or a movie star high off their mind, and you'd just shrug and dance on. It bonded people in a weird way. We all knew we were sharing in something secret, maybe scandalous, but we protected each other.
Fast forward to now. How are things different with Instagram, OnlyFans, and the whole social media and smartphone invasion?
It's almost the opposite. These days, it feels like many people go out not for the moment, but for the proof they were there. I've been to modern influencer parties where the first thing I see is a sea of phones. Everybody's filming themselves or each other, capturing content for Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. I walked into a birthday party for an Instagram model once. This was mid-2010s. And literally, most people were just sitting around on their phones, looking miserable. It's ironic and depressing. A room full of beautiful people, flashy lights, free booze, and yet the energy was dead because everyone was more concerned with curating an image than actually living. As one person later put it online, it was a sad and superficial lifestyle, and they left with a dark feeling about it. I felt that too.
That sounds almost dystopian, like a party where no one's actually present.
That's how it felt. I've seen it often. A huge mansion party in the hills, influencers, minor celebrities, models, and so many of them either glued to their screens or taking selfies in the one good lighting spot, then checking how many likes they're getting in real time. It's vapid, as a friend of mine called it. However, there's a flip side. Because everyone fears being caught on camera, truly wild behavior has gone underground or behind closed doors. It still happens, but now you often have to surrender your phone at the door or sign an NDA at the really high-end private events. The most exclusive parties, you won't find any posts about them because posting is forbidden.
That makes sense, kind of a way to recreate the old school privacy. I've heard of those no phone parties. I imagine that's where the real hookup culture and craziness can still flourish, out of sight.
Definitely, I attend or used to attend some gatherings where they literally put a sticker over your phone camera or take the phone entirely. Those end up feeling more like the 90s again. People relax a bit. But overall, the culture around it is different because of social media's influence on why people are there. In the 90s, people partied to let loose, to find their tribe, to rebel, or just have fun. Now, a lot of people party to be seen, to network. I know girls who go to parties hoping to get a selfie with a celebrity for clout, or guys who want to brag on Instagram that they were at Dan Bilzerian's mansion or something. There's this performative aspect, like if it's not documented, it didn't happen. That changes the vibe. You can practically feel when a moment is happening and half the room is already thinking about how it'll look on social media.
And what about OnlyFans? That's a newer element. How does a platform known for adult content intersect with the LA party scene?
OnlyFans has definitely made its mark on the culture. For one, it's created a new category of semi-celebrity in LA, the OnlyFans content creator who might not be a household name, but is making serious money and has a following. LA is full of them. As the capital of entertainment, mainstream and adult, of course, many OnlyFans creators live and network here. So you'll have parties now where many attendees are OnlyFans models or creators. I've been to creator houses, basically mansions rented by agencies or groups of influencers, where a party is half networking, half just debauchery. People will collaborate in more ways than one. It's like, let's do shots, and hey, maybe film a little something for our pages later. The line between social partying and creating adult content can blur. I've seen rooms in the back of a party with ring lights set up where some OnlyFans folks are literally filming explicit content while the party rages outside.
Wow, so while one group is by the pool taking selfies, another group in a bedroom upstairs is shooting a collab?
Exactly. It's a strange new dynamic. In the 90s, sure, people might hook up at a party, even some wild group stuff, but nobody was monetizing it or broadcasting it. Now, for some people, every sexy moment is potential content. I know an OnlyFans creator who tells me she only goes to certain parties because she might meet other creators to work with, meaning yes, sometimes they'll hook up and film it with consent, of course, to sell online later. So the motivation for hooking up can sometimes be business as much as pleasure.
That's a huge shift. Does it take something away, emotionally, when intimacy becomes content?
It can. I've talked with friends in that scene. Some say it's just fun and money, no big deal. But others, if they're honest, feel a kind of emptiness creep in. Like when you start seeing every flirtation or sexual moment as a transaction or a performance, you might lose touch with how you actually feel. One friend, she's an OnlyFans model, confided that after a year of these party collabs, she wasn't sure how to have real intimacy anymore. Everything felt like she was still performing, even in private. She got a lot of followers, made money, sure, but she said she felt numb.
That hints at the emotional side I'm keen to explore. Let's talk about the emotional lives of those in the scene. On the surface, it's glamorous. VIP sections, celebrity cameos, beautiful people. But what have you observed underneath that?
I've seen a lot of loneliness and insecurity under the surface. It's paradoxical. You're surrounded by people, you're technically very social, maybe you're even desired or validated in some way, but it often doesn't fulfill deeper emotional needs. For example, in my mid-20s, I fell in with a crowd of young women who were always on the list for exclusive events, the kind where a famous actor or a tech millionaire would host a party and want models and pretty people around. I was kind of a sidekick in that group. I wasn't the hot model. I was the friend who had some industry connection. But I watched these girls night after night. Outwardly, they looked like they were living the dream. Dressed to kill, flirting with A-listers, getting into VIP after parties. But inside, many were deeply insecure. They'd obsess over their looks, literally comparing Instagram likes or who got more attention from some rich guy at the party. One of them told me she cried after a party because the host, a very well-known singer, paid more attention to her friend than to her. And this is someone who objectively is stunning and has thousands of followers fawning over her. It wasn't enough.
Always some hierarchy at play, right? Someone prettier, someone more famous in the room.
Yes, it can be brutal on the self-esteem. I remember reading a comment online that summed it up. There's a ton of pressure to look like and be a certain kind of girl. Stay long enough, and the insecurity can become all-consuming, overshadowing any personality you had. I saw that happen in real life. Some of these women started as really lively, interesting people, but over time, they just became, echoes. All they talked about was who was interested in them, or their diet, or their cosmetic procedures. The scene can hollow you out if you're not careful. And it's not just women, the guys too face their own emotional struggles. A lot of men in this scene, especially those not famous but adjacent, derive their self-worth from access. Like, I partied with so-and-so, or I can get us into this after hours. It's a currency of cool. And when that fades, as it inevitably does with age or changing trends, I've seen guys become depressed or lost.
What about the celebrities and high-profile people at these parties? We often imagine them as the ones wielding power, being surrounded by adoration. Do you think they also feel some of this emptiness, or is it different for them?
That's a great question. From what I've seen, it's a mixed bag. Some celebs are just having fun, using their status to indulge, and maybe it doesn't bother them in the moment. But others, yeah, I've sensed loneliness there too. I mean, imagine being a famous actor or musician who goes to these parties. Everyone around you is either trying to get something from you or is too awestruck to treat you normally. You're the center of attention, but that can be alienating. I've had surprisingly candid, intimate conversations at 3 a.m. with a couple of well-known people who basically admitted they didn't have real friends. One, a successful TV actor, told me over a late-night cigarette on a balcony, "When I walk back inside, I'm the famous guy to everyone. They'll laugh at my jokes, flirt with me, whatever, but nobody here actually knows me." He eventually stopped going out as much because it made him feel more alone.
That's poignant. The idea of feeling alone in a crowd, especially when you're famous.
Absolutely. And then there are those who use their power at these parties in, let's say, less wholesome ways. You mentioned power earlier. That's definitely at play. You have older rich guys, Hollywood executives, or trust fund types who host these lavish parties.
And the emotional cost there?
For those young people, it can be pretty damaging. Some convince themselves they're empowered, they're choosing to be there, and sometimes that's true. But I've consoled friends the next day who felt used or ashamed because they went along with something they weren't entirely comfortable with. There's often a morning after haze, physically from the hangover and emotionally from the realization. Maybe you hooked up with someone who didn't even ask your name, or you did things that crossed your own boundaries because in the moment it felt like you had to belong. That can really eat at you.
It sounds like beyond the glitz, there's a lot of loneliness, confusion, and searching for validation in this world.
Yeah, exactly. I'd sum it up like this. LA nightlife and hookup culture can give you incredible highs, the rush of adventure, feeling desired, the thrill of access to exclusive scenes. But it often demands something in return.
I imagine someone listening might wonder, why do people keep going to these parties if it's so unfulfilling?
Because it's not all miserable, to be clear. There are genuinely fun nights, and not everyone is secretly sad. Some folks handle it fine. They keep it superficial and have a blast. And even for those of us who grew disillusioned, it wasn't easy to just quit. The scene is seductive. It's like chasing a high. You always think the next party might be the one where you do meet someone who truly sees you, or the night you'll feel on top of the world. There's also FOMO, fear of missing out, especially now with social media amplifying everything. If you stay home, you might scroll and see your acquaintances living it up at some event and feel miserable that you're not there. For a while, I kept going out because I didn't know what else to do with myself. It became part of my identity. I was Jay, who knows all the spots, who can get into the VIP. Leaving that felt like losing a part of myself. And when I tried to reintegrate into a more normal life, I struggled. Regular small talk or quiet nights in, I had to relearn how to enjoy those without the adrenaline of nightlife.
That's really insightful. It's almost like being addicted not just to a substance, but to a lifestyle or an image of oneself.
It is, in a way, and LA as a city encourages it. This town is built on hype and beauty and fame. If you're even adjacent to that, it's hard not to get swept up. But, the pandemic was a turning point for a lot of people in this scene, including me. When COVID hit and everything shut down, no parties, clubs closed, all that, a lot of us were forced to pause. I remember one of the girls I used to see out all the time texted me in mid-2020 like, "I don't know who I am when I'm not out every night." It was a half joke, half cry for help. We actually bonded soberly over coffee, of all things, because we realized we'd never actually hung out in daylight. After things opened up, some people jumped right back in. But others, like me, became more selective. I stepped away from the constant scene. I still dip a toe in occasionally, but with very different eyes now.
If I can ask, when you do go out now, what is it that you look for or pay attention to given all you've experienced?
Now I go out if it's a friend's event or something likely to have people I genuinely like. I try to avoid the random free-for-all ragers unless I'm in an anthropologist mood, observing. When I do find myself at one of those big parties nowadays, I notice everything. I see the 21-year-old starlet in the corner clinging to her phone, pretending to text so she looks busy. I remember being like her, feeling awkward and doing that. I see the loud guys showing off their money or connections, and I think about how many of them might drive home alone feeling small. I also notice the ones who are having genuine fun. Sometimes it's a tight-knit group who don't care about the scene, they're just there for each other. That always gives me hope, that even in this crazy environment, real friendship or genuine joy can exist.
What's one story or memory that, for you, encapsulates the emotional truth of LA's nightlife and hookup culture? Something that really stays with you.
There's one night that comes to mind immediately. It was probably around 2014. I was at an after-party in the hills, a pretty wild one, hosted by a big-name film producer. The kind of party where you have like a DJ by the pool, an open bar that would rival a 5-star hotel, and discreet security guards making sure everyone is behaving enough to not attract police. I ended up in a cozy den area inside around 3 a.m. Most people were either dancing outside or had paired off, but in this room it was just me, another guy I knew, sort of a minor actor, and this very famous pop singer. I won't describe her too much, but trust me, you'd know her name. The singer was clearly a bit intoxicated, lying back on a couch. We three started talking, well, shouting over the muffled music from outside, about silly stuff at first. Then the actor guy went to get water or something and never came back, so it was just me and her. I was nobody to her, just an insider guy at the party, but maybe that's why she opened up. She asked me if I was having fun. I said something like, "Yeah, it's crazy but fun." She kind of sighed and said, "I don't even know why I came. I don't even know half the people here." I joked, "Probably they all know you." And she said, "That's the worst part." I'll never forget that. Here's this woman with millions of fans, stunning and successful, and she's just sad. We talked a bit more. She mentioned missing an ex-boyfriend, feeling like everyone wanted something from her. I mostly just listened. At one point, a well-known male model, like Calvin Klein level famous, wandered in and sort of draped himself next to her, clearly trying to flirt, and she instantly put on this performative smile, like a mask. They bantered a bit. I could see how practiced she was at this routine, but her eyes looked flat, like she was on autopilot. Eventually, I slipped out and let them talk. As I left, I glanced back and she gave me a little two-finger wave, kind of a thank you and goodbye. That moment hit me hard, driving home. It was one of those nights I realized everyone has their lonely moments in this city, no matter how glittery their life looks.
That's a powerful story. It really shows that behind the facades of power and glamour, there are real human feelings. Longing, loneliness.
Very much so. LA nightlife can be like a masquerade ball. Everyone in a mask. Some literal, mostly figurative. Masks of confidence, of coolness, of sexual bravado. But underneath, a lot of people are just hoping for something real. A real connection, real fun, real love. Even if they'd never admit it at the time.
Jay, this has been incredibly eye-opening and honestly quite moving. We've peeled back the glossy exterior of the Los Angeles hookup and party scene and found the human side of it. The good, the bad, the sexy, and the sad. Before we wrap up, I want to ask, what would you tell your younger self That wide-eyed kid hitting the clubs in the 90s, or even any young person now just stepping into this world.
I think about this a lot, actually. I would tell my younger self, know who you are before you go in, and know what you truly want. It's okay to explore and have fun. There will be magical nights and memories made, but don't lose yourself trying to impress people who probably don't even care. The moment you feel like you're doing things just to be someone in that scene, step back. Real life, genuine friendships, love, self-worth, those are mostly outside of these wild nights. Enjoy the ride if you must, but don't mistake the high for real happiness. And I'd say you're enough without the validation that comes from these exclusive rooms. I wish I'd known that earlier.
Wise words. It sounds like you've made peace with a lot of it.
I have, mostly. I'll always have the stories. Some I'll take to the grave for sure. But I also have my sanity and a sense of self that isn't defined by who I party with or who wants me. A lot of folks I knew back then, well, some are okay, but some got pretty lost. I'm grateful I found a balance.
I'm grateful you came on and spoke so candidly. It's not easy to talk about these things, especially the emotional underbelly, and I think our listeners will appreciate your honesty and depth. To sum up tonight's discussion, Los Angeles nightlife, from the 90s to now, has always been a realm of enchantment and excess. From secret celebrity parties where what you see stays there, to today's influencer-fueled gatherings that can feel like a beautiful yet worse display of superficiality. We've heard how social media and OnlyFans changed the game, how back in the day you could disappear into the night without a trace, whereas now every moment might be content. And we've learned that beneath the surface, whether in a grungy 90s club or a mansion full of TikTok stars, the same human hopes and pains exist. People seek connection, validation, power, love, and sometimes end up with loneliness and lessons learned. Jay, thank you. Truly. Your stories and reflections have painted a picture that's as vivid as it is profound.
Thank you. It's been almost therapeutic to talk it out like this.
And thank you to everyone listening. I hope you found this conversation as immersive and enlightening as I did. Los Angeles After Dark is... Until next time, stay safe and take care of each other out there. Good night. Please subscribe to our channel. Ase, ase,